speaking with me, Tarun Navia. Today we're going to discuss a very, very interesting topic, right to pollution-free rivers. And why do we discuss this topic? Because it is high time we need the court's intervention to ensure that we have a right to pollution-free rivers. In about now we have crossed the 75th year of independent India, and after so many years of independence, if we cannot have rivers that are pollution free, rather pollution has gone up to levels that make the whole world look at India, that India has the most polluted rivers. It is also sad because this is the only country probably where we worship rivers. So countries that don't worship rivers have cleaner rivers. Yep. The country that worship rivers has the river which is one of the worst quality water and polluted and so many things. Are we urging for courts intervention? Yes, because I think without courts monitoring, a lot of things don't move in India, and it is the right time to take this issue up. We have someone with us who's an expert on these issues. Let me welcome Advocate Sudhir Mishra, Managing Partner of Trust Legal. Mr. Mishra is also somebody who's worked on environment litigation for over 2 decades. Good to see you.
Thank you.
And looking for some interesting insights. At the outset, on a topic like this, what would be your opening comment?
Tarun, it's such a huge issue you have taken up today, water. If I take the talking style of our Honorable Home Minister, Amit Shah ji, I'll say, pehle chronology samajhte hain. So basically, if you see the environmental law jurisprudence of this country, more than anything, forest, wildlife, biodiversity, it were the rivers which got the first preference when judicial interventions started happening with Vellore Citizen Forum and Subhash Kumar versus Union of India. And variety of litigations were done for River Godavari, for Ganga, even for Yamuna. Across the country, MC Mehta was one of the torchbearer advocates in 80s and 90s. When river-related litigation was the jurisprudence for all the people who studied environmental law in 90s and even post-90s. So it was expected that with the passing of Environmental Protection Act and also reading it with the Water Act, which incidentally is in its 50th birthday in this year, 1974, the Water Act came into motion. We have completed 50 years. So where the entire water position should have been there. Our rivers should have been clean like European rivers, like Thames in United Kingdom. But unfortunately, with every passing year, and despite multiple court interventions, despite calling our mighty rivers like Ganga and Yamuna as living human entities by the courts across the country, the situation is very, very alarming.
Specifically in relation to the Yamuna River, because both of us are in the city of Delhi, and Yamuna is a river, much like the Ganga, passes through many states of India. But that being apart, if it is in the capital of India, it is naturally the center of most attention, even more than the Ganga, because Yamuna passes through the heart of the city of Delhi. Do you think after 75 years we have failed the Yamuna and something now needs to be done rightfully with judicial intervention?
Absolutely, Tarun. Yamuna River is something, it's a mystical river, and it is something which is respected for thousands of years. We have judicial precedents where it has been recounted also, the journey of Yamuna. But despite being in the capital city we have Delhi as capital for more than 115 years now. If you say 1910, it became the capital during the British India. But how we have treated Yamuna with such a serious contempt, right from the independence and after that, with more than 7 barrages you have made, starting from Haryana and then in Uttar Pradesh. And those barrages have, all of them, one by one, have proven to be big impediment for its natural flow, which was supposed to be part of a river. No other river has been tested so much. And then you have to cross through the entire industrialized Haryana and the Delhi. and then go to Uttar Pradesh. And you have said it very correctly, Tarun, that the entire focus for almost a decade or more in last 15, 20 years was with regard to Delhi. So Delhi being the capital, even a new political party which came almost 10 years back, they said we'll make Yamuna so clean that you will not be able to believe it. And it is far more worse today. And the reason is that we concentrate all the efforts in Delhi. Even those efforts are not handy enough, because if you see how the complete course of the river changes once it enters the vicinity of Delhi. But what has happened is, I think a more comprehensive part has started emerging since 2010. I think 2010 or 12. 2012, the Supreme Court said that MCD is the biggest polluter so far the Yamuna is concerned. For the first time, they had used the word biggest polluter for MCD. And 2021, the Supreme Court was so annoyed that they finally took a suo motu matter, and they started saying that we will first take up Yamuna and slowly we'll go to other rivers, other rivers. And what did they call it? Suo motu action remediation of polluted rivers. That was the suo motu matter which is started in the Supreme Court. In that, Supreme Court passed order saying that all the municipal corporations which discharge sewage, or they don't have sufficient treatment plants, effluent treatment plant, they should upgrade their facilities. They should ensure that the treatment is done in a proper manner. Untreated waste will not be dumped in the river. That was Supreme Court's order. Now that is 2021. In 2022, as nothing happens, for almost 2 decades, series of court orders have been passed. I am counting from 2010. Nothing happens. 2022, NGT takes up a matter, and they have now come up with a very comprehensive order, National Green Tribunal Principal Bench. And what a dynamic work has happened in last 1 year, I would say, or 6 months in National Green Tribunal, that they have passed a 200-page judgment on 24th of April 2024, where they have accounted for each and every step which has been taken, opportunities given to different state governments, different pollution control boards, and they have highlighted in black and white that all the directions of the Supreme Court have largely been ignored so far as the state pollution control boards are concerned, management of effluent treatment plants are concerned. And the worst aspect is that the affidavits which have been filed in the course of hearing, Tarun, they themselves very clearly say that our installed capacity is X, our total sewage which comes to us is Y, our installed capacity is much lesser than the sewage which comes to us.
I want to ask you a very specific question. Take Yamuna, take Ganga, one of the two very famous rivers of India, one passing through the capital, the rest is, of course, linked to the Indian civilization. We are unable to build sewage treatment plants 75 years after independence.
Yes.
I mean, in India, money is not a problem. I mean, I have heard big union ministers saying that for projects, money is never an issue.
Yes.
And for these kind of projects, Asian Development Bank and other funds are also available.
Right.
Why do you think that? I'm not saying that this is some village in Bihar or Jharkhand where STPs are not available. It is the capital of India. The ammonia levels in Yamuna water are so dangerous that sometimes water supply has to be stopped.
Right.
Could you tell me that we need court's intervention here, that at least the sewage treatment plants are in place? I mean, is that the least that we can ask for as citizens?
Yes, so that is what is now moving into that direction. All the time, the focus was, Tarun, with regard to the entire effluent treatment plant was on Delhi. And we used to largely see that, okay, Delhi has this much capacity, but even Delhi is producing far more sewage than the capacity which we have. And then the capacity which we have also is not fully utilized at most of the effluent treatment plants. That's another problem. But with this National Green Tribunal judgment, what has happened, and we are the people who actually feel very optimistic once such a judgment is passed, because it will have the same effect what the Supreme Court judgment 4 weeks back on climate change has really changed the discourse in the country with regard to how solar will be a new area of investment. So I think what National Green Tribunal has done, what you have asked, they have answered this. They have pinpointed, asked Agra Municipal Corporation and UP Pollution Control Board, Mathura Vrindavan authorities, that how much sewage you discharge, how much your capacity is there for the treatment of those sewage, why you are not upgrading those sewage treatment plants, how do you expect that the entire fishes which have been dying or which have not been able to survive, how they will survive, how they will ensure that the free flow of water will take place. And they have put exemplary penalty on both the municipal corporations, whether it is Agra or Mathura Vrindavan. Now, this is a major focus. If the Supreme Court said in 2021 in the suo motu petition that we want every municipal corporation to be accountable, need to upgrade the sewage treatment plants, effluent treatment plant. But you know, Tarun, the problem is that even after 50 years after the passing of the Water Act, if we just call it Water Act, you don't know how much sewage is generated, how much industrial effluent is generated, how much is the capacity, real time, how much monitoring happens by the Pollution Control Board. And just tell me, NGT is also seized with an issue for last 3 weeks that what is happening with regard to the people who are employed in Pollution Control Board and Central Pollution Control Board. In the Parliament, Tarun, Minister of State last year in April 2023 has acknowledged that 30% vacancies there in Central Pollution Control Board and roughly 42% vacancies there in the State Pollution Control Boards. Who will monitor all these things?
So clearly, pollution control is not priority for anyone. Yes. I want to ask you one more follow-up question on this. We've been told from long time, I mean, whenever I've asked, they say, don't waste money on cleaning up rivers. Just set up sewage treatment plant, effluent treatment plant, stop dumping dirt in rivers, the rivers cleans itself. You spend thousands of crores on cleaning up rivers. The solution is just not to pollute it, it will clean itself in a year's time. Do you think that we are missing the woods for the trees, that we are not stopping to put effluents and sewage in the river and spending thousands of crores across India on cleaning them? Do you think there is a policy misunderstanding here?
Tarun, very honestly, I'm not technically competent to take that big a stand, but one thing I have understood, that so far as Ganga is concerned, Ganga has far more capacity for someone to interfere with its natural course of progress. That's why through dredging and other efforts, they are now able to have it navigated almost throughout the year, right up to Banaras from Farakka, which was not possible 15 years back. That is point number one. Point number two is the Pollution Control Board, the same Pollution Control Board has been in a better position with regard to Ganga, that the direct discharge in the river, direct discharge, where the effluent is directly being discharged to the river, has been mitigated to a large extent so far as Ganga is concerned. And if you have been an observer of these rivers, if you go regularly, you will see a difference in Banaras and in Kanpur, and also because of the tanneries which have been controlled generally, how they function, how much accountability they should have, how they should be integrated with the effluent treatment plant. But you know, when we talk about these rivers, like because of the kind of litigation which happened in earlier years, I would say there are many rivers in the country which have got a fresh lease of life. And there are small rivers also which have been regenerated. You are absolutely correct. The problem is we are not realizing that Delhi has an entirely different issue. You will not be able to sort out the entire problem in Delhi unless you see each and every municipal corporation starts thinking about it, that we will upgrade our effluent treatment plant, take the funding which you just mentioned from any developmental agency, or involve the private sector. Now, this National Green Tribunal judgment has said that we will put a penalty of more than 50 crore on one authority and 7 crore on another authority. They have said, go and recover it from the people who manage your effluent treatment plant. So there is a mechanism to do all of that.
See, if you could share one thing with us.
Yes.
Delhi is the capital of this country. I think could we lead by example, and at least in Delhi, can the courts ensure that sewage treatment plants, like in the case of CNG, they said that
Yes.
Delhi is breathing and people are dying, and the air is so polluted, it involves all of us. See, you can live in the most expensive locality in Delhi and breathe the same air as the poorest locality. So air doesn't discriminate where you live.
Right.
In the same way, water also beyond a point does not discriminate. You all of us live in a city that has the same river for all of us. Do you think the courts can ensure that not one drop of sewage is discharged untreated into the Yamuna River? Do you think the courts have the power to do it? Of course, the courts have the power. Do you think the courts will go that far?
I think courts have already gone that far, Tarun. If you see that for last, once I started going to the details of the judgments which have been passed about Yamuna, from the Delhi High Court, from the Supreme Court of India, from the National Green Tribunal, each and every judgment has talked about the fundamental right, the emergency, the kind of ammonia you are talking about. They are aware about it. But I think the best solution is now to make individuals accountable. And one precedent has been set by this 24th April judgment. How will you make people directly accountable? You have large municipal corporations, and you can actually make them accountable ward by ward, zone by zone.
But let me
Zone by zone, you will have to make them accountable if they are discharged.
allow me to interrupt you here. Is it possible that the courts ensure that the judgments they give are enforced in reality? Because
Tarun, in our country, affidavits were filed by auto rickshaw wallahs in the Supreme Court of India for the implementation of CNG. Lakhs of people filed their own affidavit in a time frame which was decided by the Supreme Court when CNG was being implemented. In the same country, we do voting in a proper manner. In the same country, variety of issues, when it becomes very difficult, do you realize that how much difference it has made to Delhi air when air quality monitoring mechanism is started? A separate monitoring 24 hours.
It is not unusual to read news that the dissolved oxygen in the Yamuna River is so less that fishes can barely survive.
Yes.
So I think that is also, see, because in the end the court is monitoring and the end result is this, which means the court's orders are being ignored willfully or due to some problems. The courts must also be feeling frustrated at an inability to get its orders implemented. Do you think that's an issue?
I think courts have slowly started realizing that individual responsibility has to be fixed. If you see now, this is the new set of things, whether it is quality control, whether it is food related labels, everywhere the courts are asking about individual responsibility now. And air quality monitoring was a perfect example where they actually have a 24-hour monitoring system. If your air deteriorates in 24 hours, Tarun, in the national capital region, immediately gradation system kicks in. And you have a particular system by which this will be banned, construction will not be allowed, or something will happen. Tell me what prevents the government. And if they will not do it, whether it's the NCT of Delhi, whether it's the Union of India sitting with NCT, then within NCT, you have problem, people approaching National Green Tribunal. They are passing an order that the LG will be the in charge of rejuvenation program. Then they go to some government goes to Supreme Court. They say, no, he should not be the in charge. See, we have a big issue in Delhi about governance today. And you know why I'm saying that? Because the drinking water which you are getting, how will you even survive with this quality of drinking water? All that is sourced from Yamuna. Most of the national capital region, Gurgaon, Faridabad, Ballabgarh, they all have sourcing happening from Yamuna related to it. Water is not going to be created artificially here. So if you want to protect it, you first start with a 24 hours monitoring center where you will monitor that every drop of sewage, untreated waste, which goes unaccounted in a river of the might of Yamuna, should be stopped in next 3 to 6 months. And that is how Mathura Vrindavan order or Agra order will be a new benchmark, where authorities will have to go from house to house and actually see that how much water is directly going to the river. And if you manage to start doing it, a culture will happen that municipal corporations will go and ask the government that we need money to get the effluent treatment plant upgraded up to the capacity my city is generating waste. So if my city is generating waste for 100, my capacity can't be 60. My capacity has to be 110 so that I can treat the waste properly and in a time-bound manner, and nothing goes in the river which is not accounted for.
Now, I was just reading a report
Yes.
highlights which said that out of 35 sewage treatment plants,
Yes.
only 10 meet the prescribed standard for wastewater, basically total suspended solids, which are less than 10 milligrams per liter, which means
Right.
even after treatment, the STPs are not generating, clean water. It's still dirty. So the STPs itself are not efficient. Second problem that I came across was that there are unauthorized colonies in Delhi.
Yes.
They released untreated sewage
Right.
that directly is dumped in the Yamuna. And
Right.
because it's not even linked to a sewerage system, there is no way that it doesn't go to an STP, it directly goes in the Yamuna. Now, if this problem is so acute in the capital of India, it is even you can't even speak about what happens in other cities. The capital itself, you have untreated, unauthorized colonies using untreated sewage going into the Yamuna. Do you think that in the 21st century, India, if it wants to survive as a nation where people don't face water riots, get what you can say diseases due to consuming, for example, if water is bad in Delhi, the Agra water must be much more worse because all the dirt of Delhi is dumped in Yamuna and that same water goes to Agra. So, I mean, we are passing our problem of much graver nature to cities downstream. Could you reflect on this problem?
Tarun, one of the reasons why this particular episode is very important, that India has a capacity to create regulators which are dynamic, which I have been emphasizing with regard to air pollution control. We have a dynamic 24-hour monitoring system. But tell me, if we have Securities and Exchange Bank of India, we have variety of enforcement agencies today which react in a real-time basis. Similarly, why can't, for something so fundamental, which is, you are talking about diseases, we don't even know what is happening with regard to the vegetables which is cultivated on these waters on the banks of the entire National Capital Region. What we are eating, what vegetables are coming, despite so many precautions they are taking, but that is the water which is being used because it actually is faster growth. All the palak and all the moolies which we find around the roads, if you cross D&D, you cross Okhla Barrage, you will find them on the road. And we all are buying it. What are we doing to us? So what I'm saying, as a country, you will not doubt that we have a capacity to create authorities which react in real-time basis, within hours, within days, within. Now, coming back to a very important part which you said, effluent treatment plants capacity, I have a feeling that the judgment which has been passed about two cities of Agra and Mathura Vrindavan, which are like the tourist cities of this country, is spiritually very, very important. There also a lot of infrastructure of the city is not even integrated to the effluent treatment plant system. That has also been mentioned, whether it all is covered.
So you mean the city is growing in such a way that it's not connected to the STP?
Yeah, because to connect the authorized and unauthorized and every new thing which coming up, it's all issue of enforcement. And municipal corporations in the country, we have talked about the understaffing of the Pollution Control Board. Understaffing is a legacy issue there. For almost 20 years, I'm hearing that they never had a full capacity. Even a climate where everything is online today, and you are expected to file all your categories, all your forms, all your compliances, most of the certifications. How will you inspect? How will you do field surveys? How will you go and inspect the effluent treatment plant? And how will you even tell them to upgrade? You are not asking about inspector Raj here, but at least you are talking about responsible vigilance, which you are not able to do. And that is how this unregulated sewage is seeping in our water streams, especially in Yamuna and also in other rivers, including Ganga. So
and there is another different animal that we are not touched. Maybe we'll do in next show. Is the pollution of groundwater.
Yes.
There are factories that we know in Noida that have been leaching pollutants into the groundwater where people are suffering from cancer and other diseases. This nobody discusses. I mean, we are only talking river, but groundwater pollution is something we don't even discuss.
We are not discussing, Tarun. If you see reports after report, now with regard to Bangalore, of course, has become a punching bag today with regard to its water crisis. But can you imagine, it was a city of lakes. It had only lakes around which the whole city was built up. Today, they have a water crisis. And you and I both had been discussing that you have a 4-bedroom apartment or 5-bedroom apartment. One of the bedroom will get water for a particular hour. This is the kind of thing which has happened in Bangalore. People don't talk about it. Even I'm talking about affluent society. They were getting water in one of the rooms in one of the apartment for a particular time only. And here you have the variety of matters which I have done in National Green Journal on water related, where I've also applied for various associations and various builders. So far as Gurgaon is concerned, what is the condition of their water table today? How they get water and how much recycling they need to do, how much rainwater harvesting they need to do, and how much cleaning of
Mr. Sudhir Mishra, one thing I want to ask you is, see, many times in India we have an attitude when the house is on fire, we rush with the fire tender. We don't take any preventive measures to ensure that the house is not on fire. Do you think when there will be water riots in NCR is then we will move, or do you think the courts will step in and do something?
I think we are not expecting water riots in National Capital Region. There are other areas where there already those wars are happening in southern part of the country, and they are much detailed ones where water has become a scarce commodity. So far as National Capital Region is concerned, still we are very blessed. If you are staying especially in places like Faridabad, Noida, Greater Noida, the water table is excellent even now. And you will be having that liberty for next 25, 30 years even. But the fact is, why can't you allow the river to flow in its natural condition? Why can't you allow something where the barrages can have some negotiation where some system can be developed by where the pollution can be reduced and the river gets the oxygen, river gets life. It becomes a living entity. We all are looking at when we cross this DND and Okhla River or Nizamuddin Bridge, and nothing happens to us. We climb the rails and put more plastic in the river.
I want to share an anecdote with you. When I spoke to a certain gentleman who retired from the government, he moved out of the Latins Delhi area into Noida, and he was made aware of the fact that the TDS of the water that comes to his house is 1700. Anything beyond 200, 250
Yes.
is not, a human cannot even think of consuming. At 1700, you lose all your hair. So when you say that Noida has water, the TDS is 1700, which is unfit for human consumption or even use because the water is so salty. All the taps go to rust in 6 months.
Yes.
That's the problem. So,
Correct.
So we are not as a society succeeded that the corporation, which is the municipality, supplies each home with a water which is fit for human consumption. Water is there. Is it fit for human consumption? No. Are people consuming? Yes. Why? Because they have no choice.
Correct.
This is what. So do you think that we have lowered our standards so much that we become happy because only water is available?
So I'm saying that our municipal corporations have been historically used to having lower expectations from the people. Historically, we were openly defecting in nature. Thanks to Prime Minister Modi, that has been taken care that a lot of toilets have been created in the country. And especially last 10 years, that's one of the big achievements which is normally being talked about. But when he says that I will give tap water, which he started in the last 5 years, and now that's going to be a mission mode in the next time, and he talks about solar on our roof, and he talks about this integration of technology to the hand of the person who is selling vegetables. I think it also requires today that fundamental shift how our regulators of water and air need to look within. And that will really change the country. The kind of dynamic regulators which we have in financial sector, in competition, in other areas. For environment, our pollution control board, even in the earlier governments, Tarun, had always been lagging behind. I think the time has come when fewer litigations happens with regard to environment, with regard to fundamental rights. people have now become quite tired of listening to this, that right to life also includes clean water and clean air. That people know, but do they have any choice to enforce it? I seriously doubt. But the measure which has been taken last 4 days back is a it's like a silver bullet. Because here, what you are trying to do, you're fixing individual accountability. Now you have fixed a penalty for this. Never before this kind of individual responsibility had been fixed. In India, we wake up with these things. If you remember, tree felling and tiger-related deaths, or any road going through a wetland or a important corridor, always a court order or judicial pronouncement. Even officers had been held guilty, even politicians had been jailed for those violations. I think the time has now come that for water, if we start thinking in that term, that it's a scarce commodity, and we are very blessed to have such mighty rivers around us. And if we can rejuvenate them, give them the glory which they had 60 years back or 70 years back, because with this speed, you will not be able to save them.
Yes, thank you for sharing all your opinions and observations with us. To this time, we focus largely on right to clean rivers, hopefully with Supreme Court's intervention. Next time, we'd like to discuss with you right to potable water. I mentioned potable because simply water in the tap, which is polluted, is not enough. The water should be potable and fit for human consumption. I think that is not a reality today, except for a few areas in NCR.
Yeah, Tarun, I'll just say, Tarun, just on a lighter thing, I'm saying that people should be now ready for a QR code to buy a water. QR code to buy water to take bath, to do brush, to go to the washroom. If we continue with this, I think that technological age which we have will be useful for something so fundamental like getting water on demand.
Point well taken. It was a nice discussion with you. Looking forward to discuss the right to potable water show with you coming soon. But appreciate your joining us and looking forward to Supreme Court's intervention. The NGT is already acting. I think a lot of things are happening, but when we go to the river, it still looks polluted. So
but it's a great effort, Tarun, just to say that passing an order for 200 pages, and it took a lot of effort, and they have taken the jurisprudence right back to Rig Veda. Talked about the rivers first mentioned 1500 BC. They have tried to connect the dots, taken everybody's affidavit on account and said, what are you going to do now?
Yes, that's interesting, and we'll follow that up on Legally Speaking. Appreciate your joining us. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Tarun. Thanks a lot.
For more such videos, subscribe to the NewsX YouTube channel, hit the bell icon.